Welcome to the Michael Simmons Show, where we help you create blockbuster content that changes the world and builds your business. We dive deep into the habits and hacks of today's top thought leaders. Now, here's the show.
Today, I present to you my friend and also a former client, Russ Ruffino. So I first met Russ about 5 years ago, where he wanted some help creating online content. At the time, he had 1.4 million or so yearly revenue. So it was a successful business, making over $100,000 a month. But he was talking about, I remember that he wanted to scale it to $10 million. So to go from 1.4 to 10 million. And he had a lot of confidence, but I was like, okay, like that's a really big jump. Well, believe it or not, he hit that and he's even grown much bigger since that. So he's an example of someone who's, number one, a really big thinker and visualizer, but actually makes it happen. He's figured out a model that for promoting online courses and also creating programs that are really transformational, that I think is going to be a model that many people are already modeling and using, and many more people will use it as well. Using it for ourselves and learning from him is how we got the confidence to launch our full year transformational writing program. So I owe a lot to Russ. And without further ado, I give you Russ Ruffino. So welcome to the podcast, Russ.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here.
So excited to have you here. And just on multiple levels, I think the field of thought leadership is really fascinating and it's growing tremendously quickly. And you've really built one of the premier thought leadership, coaching, transformation companies in the world. How large is Clients on Demand?
So Clients on Demand is doing between $1 and $1.5 million a month in revenue. We have 31, I want to say, people on the team. Everyone is virtual, so the whole company, everybody works remotely, and yeah, so we're on a nice growth trajectory. We're growing, and it's been especially great this year because this is a year 2020. It's a year that a lot of businesses have really struggled, but because our business is completely virtual, I think that the whole COVID pandemic really did not hit us nearly as hard as it hit so many other businesses. So we're very blessed in that way.
So if I can do math correctly, around the $15 million range. And what's your goal for next year to reach that?
Our goal is to get to 100. I think next year we can probably get to 50, maybe beyond that. We had a couple sort of bottlenecks, let's say, right? So we can get into that if we want to talk about scaling and stuff later. But there's always these bottlenecks that are keeping your business stuck at whatever level it's at. Whether you're trying to get to $100,000 a year or $1 million a year, $10 million a year, there's certain roadblocks that you have got to sort of dissolve in order to move things forward. So we just in the past couple months were able to really identify what those were and solve them. And I'm kind of watching them dissolve right before my very eyes. So we're really excited about what's going to happen next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of internet marketers, very successful ones. And I feel like a lot of people who break through, they're in the million to 5 million, then some get to the 5 to 10 million. There's really very few that get beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people do you know who've reached beyond that to
like 5 or 6, maybe?
Like literally a handful in the world. And there's maybe Agora Financial who's more at the highest end, maybe revenue-wise, not necessarily impact-wise. But you've managed to build a very successful business, but also one where the quality gets better and better, and it's based off of transformation over information. And my question for you is, you have a very non-traditional background, and why do you think you're one of those people that reached that higher level, this higher tiers, and going to keep going higher and higher? Where most people who are smart, who are great marketers, who are great coaches, they just don't reach this level.
That's a really great question, actually. So there's a few things. I think that because in this industry, the money can come so fast, and because in this industry, sometimes it can feel like you're not really doing anything, right? I remember when I first started making a little bit of money online, some affiliate commissions, right? I was always so blown away that I could be watching TV or walking through the park or, doing whatever. And my phone would go off, ding, and I'd get an email. Oh, I just made $100. Like that feeling right there is so surreal, that you kind of feel like I didn't do anything and I just made some money, So I think that so many people are operating from a place of scarcity where they just want to make some money. They're like, and they're so focused on sales and they're so focused on getting money in the door that they never really stop and think about, okay, well, what kind of experience am I going to provide for the people that actually buy this thing from me? What kind of support am I going to give them? And so from the very beginning, even back in the days when we were doing low ticket stuff before we got into like more high ticket, transformational coaching, I just always felt tremendous pressure to do a fantastic job for my clients. And so if you can sort of chart my career in internet marketing, every single decision that I've ever made, from pricing to marketing to strategy to everything, has really just been built around what's going to get the best outcomes for my clients. And I think it's just a very different jumping off point, because most people start out thinking about what's going to make me the most money.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
and then I think there's a lot of people too that are very like, significance driven. They want to be on stage. They want the limelight. They want the bajillion followers. They want people to smash that like button and get those likes and all that other stuff. And, it's like, that's fine. But if that is your core driver, you are going to make a completely different set of decisions. And if making money is your core driver, you're going to make a completely different set of decisions. But if serving the client is your core driver, I think that's going to put you on a totally different path. And I think that's been a big part of it, is just from day one, our priority has always been what's going to get the best outcomes for our clients. And to me, everything else is secondary.
Right. And I can really see that in some of the choices you made. You're one of the pioneers to really go the high ticket offer.
Yeah.
Which is what you need to do to really offer people the coaching and support they need to transform.
Right.
And it seems like you've just kept on adding more and more support over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that's really interesting is just online curriculum and content where it is. I think we're finally getting to a place where it's realized that giving people the content and then doing it self-serve, maybe the most motivated people can use that. But most people, there's mindset challenges and things like that. So I was curious, how has your model of what it takes for someone to actually transform and get a result, how has that changed and what does it look like now?
Yeah. So the thing is, once you make that your top priority, you figure out pretty quickly what works and what doesn't. Because it's like, okay, are my clients getting results? Yes or no? If they're not, all right, we got to change something. So the first big discovery was the impact of premium pricing. So when I first started out, we were doing what everybody else does. We were selling, $27 ebooks or maybe a $97 or $197 video course or something like that. And, all those things sold well and they were always really well received. People would hit me up and say, Russ, oh, that video course, it was awesome. Great. And then I'd say, okay, dude, awesome. You liked it. Well, what'd you do with it? So, oh yeah, well, I got a bunch of other courses to get through first and then I'll get around to taking action on that one. And it's just like, I heard that over and over and over again. Now, like, look, from a purely, capitalist perspective, it's, there's an argument where you could say, well, hey, I wrote a book. They bought the book. They read the book. That's it. Who cares if they took action or not? They're happy. I'm happy. They got what they paid for and it's all good. But I really wanted to get people the outcome. I've always seen from the beginning, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if people are coming to you to advance their life in some way, it's not enough to just say, hey, here's instructions on how to do it. And I go figure this out. You want to make sure they actually get that outcome. And so that was the decision that I made. And I decided to sort of re-engineer everything I was doing around that. So whereas before I might do a launch of, let's say, $47 something or whatever and sell 1,000 copies of it, I said, well, what if we flip this on its head and charged a premium price, $3,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for what we did and just worked with a handful of people every month? How would that change the dynamic? And what happened was people came in at those premium prices. They were ultra motivated because they invested at a premium price. Like they did everything I told them to do. I could give them a true VIP experience because now I only had to work with like 5-10 people a month, at least in the beginning. And I could really go to bat for them and make sure they were taking action. And I could really give them the support that they needed. And, when you have 1,000 customers, or like you see these people do these big launches where they get like 7,000 customers at once, those people aren't getting good support. There's no way. It's physically impossible. How can you do that? You can't coach, that many people. So with us, we figured out a framework where, yes, we can teach people how to do it. We can also hold their hand along the way and support them each and every step. And the moment we started doing that, it's like that was the game changer in the business. The revenue for the business went through the roof. Our client results went through the roof. I had a lot more freedom, again, because we were working with fewer clients, and I was just happier. It was like, that's what you want. For me, I always wanted to build a business that gave me three things: income, freedom, and impact. So can I make the money I want to make? Can I have the freedom to enjoy that money? But am I really making a difference in people's lives? And it wasn't until we made that switch from like a low ticket thing to like high ticket transformational coaching that all really kind of came together in a beautiful way. And it still is, as we continue to grow.
Yeah. It's actually really counterintuitive. And if you haven't done that on multiple levels, number one, if you're doing high ticket, high touch, to many people, they would think, well, that's not as much freedom as having a self-serve thing where people buy a course and go through it. How have you been able to, have $15 million company and 31 employees? That's like 500,000 of revenue per employee. How is that possible? And how do you think about that?
I don't know. We just do it. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be easier, but it is not. And that was what really blew my mind, right? So there was a couple sort of, sayings or little pearls of wisdom or whatever that got thrown around when I was first starting out, right? And one of those things was, man, it's just as easy to make a $10,000 sale as it is to make a $20 sale. And I was like, there's no way that that's true, but it kind of is true. And then the other thing that people would say is that, if people are investing with you at a premium price, they're going to be super high maintenance. They're going to be super fussy. You know how successful people are. They're kind of a pain in the butt, all that stuff. And what I found is that the opposite is true. When I would sell somebody a $27 ebook, they would think that they owned me, and they would email me 20 times a day with questions and all this other stuff. Then you multiply that times 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 customers, and it's insane. Whereas when I would work with fewer people and they would come in at a premium price, they were the coolest people in the world. They were there. They were not dabblers. They were absolutely committed to doing the work, absolutely committed to getting the outcome. And they did. I told them what to do. They did it, and they got the outcome. And to me, that was just like, oh, it's like, that's like what you want. You want to be making an impact in people's lives. You want to be making a difference in people's lives. Cause to me, it's like, look, man, I don't really care how much money I make. If you're making $500,000 a month versus making $1 million a month, like, your lifestyle is not really going to change all that much. But what you get hooked on, what you get addicted to, is the impact that you're making in the lives of your clients. Where there's businesses that are thriving, multi-million-dollar businesses today, where the people were on the verge of bankruptcy when I first met them. And that is ultimately what gets you out of bed in the morning. That's what feels so good. That's really what you get hooked on. And I think in a way that's a really healthy thing. It's certainly better than, just being hooked on more money, or more followers, more likes, so.
Yeah, really, that's true. I think with life, they can program you to these vanity metrics.
Yeah.
Good. So on the transformation side, what do you think is required for transformation, the support that people need, that they don't realize, or that most thought leaders think they don't realize going into it?
Yeah. So there really is three things. And this is what we found. So obviously you need a world-class strategy, right? So the content itself, if you want to call it content, let's just say the solution, the formula, the information piece, right? That information has got to be world-class. It's got to be good enough so that if somebody follows it step by step, it will actually solve the problem. Now, right there, that eliminates like 95% of the different programs and things that are out there, because either it's just a grab bag of information, or it's like a bunch of unproven ideas, or it's just, kind of thrown together where they just throw a bunch of information at you and it's not step by step. Most of the information that's out there is not very good. And I think, you read 10 books on any given topic and that becomes really obvious really fast, where like there'll be like one guy out of the 10 that really knows what he's talking about. So right there, you've got to have a world-class solution to the problem. Okay. But that's not enough, because like we talked about, just giving people the answer and then setting them free to go figure it out that's not going to get the job done. Maybe if the person is very smart and very motivated and really has their stuff together, but that's one client in 200 or one client in 1,000, So the information has to be world-class. The next thing that has to be world-class is you have to give world-class strategic support. So for example, in our program, we teach people how to market their high-ticket programs the way that we market ours. And so in order to do that, we have to teach them how to do a great webinar. We have to teach them how to do Facebook ads. But we also have to go the extra mile and give them all the support that they need around that. So for example, my team works with our clients to write a Facebook ad that's brilliant. My team works with our clients to write a webinar that's brilliant. My Facebook people are telling them exactly who to target and exactly how to set up their account, exactly what the bidding strategy is, every piece of it. And that's something that requires handholding, because the truth is, the way that a relationship coach or dating coach is going to market their business is probably very different in the details than the way like a fitness coach or a business coach is going to market their business. And someone has to come in and bridge that gap and show them how to do it right.
Yeah. So really one-on-one support where it's advice customized to their situation. Mm-hmm. And when you say hand-holding or you're writing a Facebook ad or doing a webinar, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that let's say somebody comes to work with us who's a chiropractor. Okay. We've had a lot of chiropractor clients, and they're great at cracking backs. They're great at snapping necks and whatever they do, but they don't know anything about marketing. So it's like, okay, great. I can show you our step-by-step format for making a webinar, right? And I can explain it to you in great detail, make it as easy as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, you don't have 10, 20 years of copywriting and marketing experience under your belt. And so even if that information is fantastic, the job that you're going to do is probably not as good as the job that someone who does have that experience is going to do. So the way that we bridge that gap is I show you how to do it, you do it, you submit it to my team, and we rewrite it together until it's absolutely perfect. So you get to sort of borrow not just our strategy, but borrow our skill set as well. So when you teach people information, it's great, because that information is probably going to be the same, like for 80% of your clients, or, you're going to cover 80% of the same stuff with every single client. That's the stuff you want to put in your videos and the stuff. So you don't have to say that stuff over and over again. But there's that 20% that needs to be individually custom tailored for each and every client. That's the part where you need to provide that live support. And it doesn't have to be one-on-one. You can do it in a group call. Like we do Zoom calls, and on the Zoom calls, we have like breakout rooms where we have like a copy room where if you need help with your copy, you can go here. We have a Facebook room. If you need help with your Facebook stuff, you go here, and so on. So that you can do it in a leveraged way. So you still have your freedom, but by adding that extra dimension of support, the results your clients get, it's going to be night and day better than if you were just giving them the information and sending them on their way. But there's actually a third piece that goes in it too. So you need world-class information. You need world-class strategic support, but I believe you also need world-class mindset support. And this is something I resisted for a really long time, because look, man, I'm not a mindset coach. I'm a strategist, a business strategist. And so I figured, man, look, I give people the best strategy in the world. I hold their hand and coach them every step of the way to how to implement it, do this, then do this, rewrite their webinars, whatever it takes. I thought that would be enough. And what we found and then that's originally how Clients on Demand, our program was built. But what we found as we went on is that what really got in people's way wasn't that they didn't know how to they couldn't do the strategy. It was fear. It was fear. It was self-doubt. It was overwhelm. It was self-sabotage. Even things like, oh, Russ, I just had my first $100,000 month and I'm freaking out. I'm like, wait, what? What are you freaking out about? You just made $100,000 in 1 month. But that was more money than anybody who had ever lived in their family at any point throughout all of human history had ever made. And so they hit that like comfort zone and just would freak. So what I did was I hired some of the best mindset and performance coaches in the world to come and be on my team. And that was like the second game changer, because now, if you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're terrified and you're in fear and you're in overwhelm, you're never going to be able to execute it properly. And if you want results, you have to be operating outside your comfort zone, because if those results were in your comfort zone, you'd have those results already. So there's stuff that you need to do that you've never done before, that freaks you out, that you're afraid of, that you're in resistance on or whatever. And somebody's got to be there to coach you through that piece. So if you have those three components, if you have a great solution, a world-class strategic support, a world-class mindset support, then you can have a program that's really transformational and that can really command a $5, $8, $10, $15,000 price on the front end.
Yeah. Yeah. I've really seen this in our writing course.
Yeah.
Is we help people write blockbuster articles online.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been writing for a while. So for me, it's kind of like you take it and you put it online. I really realized that there's so many challenges that come up in fear. And what I also notice is that people make up when people go into fear, they make up and time for my own thing, make up kind of very logical, convincing things to them. And there's always a next thing. So at some point in our course, we're like, okay, if we keep on trying to answer each one logically,
no,
there's going to be a new thing.
Yes.
How do you think about what it takes to help somebody go through the emotional challenge of facing fear and their mind giving them reasons why the fear is, why they should stop doing this thing that's giving them?
Well, mindset coaching really is its own skill. So my managing director, Jane Jewell, is also our head mindset coach. In my opinion, she is the best mindset and performance coach on the freaking planet. I mean, she's unreal. And it's an art getting people to really understand what's truly going on. Because look, man, I can give people advice, right? I can listen to somebody and I can try to change their perspective on things. But the stuff that the mindset coaches do in our program, I mean, to me, it's like magic, because how often do you have a conversation with someone? And we're like, really think about this for a minute. How often do you have a conversation with someone where you actually convince them of something? You're talking to somebody that voted for Trump. You're talking to somebody that voted for Biden. You're talking to somebody that is, religion A and you're religion B. And are you ever going to change that person's mind? No, it literally never happens. It never happens, but they have a way of taking someone's deeply rooted belief. I'm not good enough. Why would anybody buy anything from me? I'm a failure. I'm an imposter. I don't deserve this. God doesn't want me to have money. All of these toxic stories that people have been carrying around since they were 5. They have a way of bringing that stuff to the surface and giving the client the power to really look at it and just decide, hey man, this isn't serving me anymore. Let me let this go. And let's come up with a new, more empowering story and a new and more empowering identity and plug into that. And I really think that's the stuff, if you read the reviews that people write of clients on demand, they talk about, I made more money and I got more clients and I'm charging higher prices and all this other awesome stuff. But you also have this whole other level where people are like, I am a different, stronger, happier person today than I was 8 weeks ago, because there was all this stuff that I was resisting and now I'm not resisting it anymore. And I've let this stuff go and I'm just happier and stronger, more confident and all that other stuff. Now we don't advertise any of that, right? You're not going to hear me talk about that stuff in our webinars. It's kind of like this surprise when people get into the program. They just want to learn how to get better clients, how to charge more prices and all that stuff. But then they realize that there's a real transformation that you have to go through. And I know because I went through it. If you had talked to me in 2014, you'd be talking to, it's still me, same mannerism, same sense of humor, same everything. But I'm a radically different, stronger, more confident entrepreneur today at 15 million a year than I was at, 2 million a year or wherever we were at back then.
Yeah. I think you were, when we were first working together, I think you were at 1.5 million then.
Yeah. And so I think about how many challenges I have had to overcome. And every time you have to overcome a challenge, and every time you have to have a difficult conversation, every time you have to fire somebody, every time you have to tell somebody, no, I'm sorry, I don't think we're fit to work together. You get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and you can handle more and more and more and more and more. And that is how your business grows and expands, because you grow and expand as a person. So people are like, Russ, if I want to advance spiritually, what should I do? Should I go sit in a cave and meditate? I'm like, no, go start a business, because that's going to force you to evolve as a person really very, very quickly.
Business, and then I put marriage and
marriage, kids. Yeah,
there too.
Totally.
So, yeah, the way I almost look at it now is you're selling an outcome. It could be,
Yeah.
but then really what you're selling in a way is mindset shifts. Well, there's everything you talked about, but feels like a large, like for knowing you 5 years ago and then now, mindset shift is a really big part of it. Do you feel like at that level you're almost selling? That's what you're selling, is that for personal transformation?
Well, the thing is, that's what we provide, but it's not what we sell, because most people, it's not my mindset, dude. I got this. Okay. Look, man, I just need to know how to do Facebook ads. Okay. It's not my mindset. There's nothing in my mindset. I swear to God, I'm awesome. I'm super cool. I'm super happy. Can't you tell? I'm super positive. Like it's not, most people don't understand that that's what it is. And so, so there's that. Right. And then the second thing is that most of the people that are offering that are offering it because they don't have a strategy. And so they're saying, no, you don't need to worry about Facebook ads because your mindset's screwed up. So it's like this double-edged sword where like the mindset coaches out there don't have a strategy. And when you ask them for a strategy, they're going to be like, no, don't worry about that. Just focus on your mindset. Well, that's not enough, man. If you want to do Facebook ads, someone's going to show you how to do freaking Facebook ads. Someone has to show you how to advertise, how to market yourself, how to generate leads. That strategic piece is super, super important. That is the piece that everybody thinks that they need, and they do need it, but they're not aware that there's this whole other component that runs under it. And so what happens is people come into Clients on Demand. They're super excited. They begin to learn the strategy. They're full of enthusiasm. And then they realize that the stuff that you need to do is outside your comfort zone, right? If you've never charged $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 before, you're going to have to say to somebody, yes, that will be $6,000, please. And that's terrifying for people. So when people experience that fear, then we come in with the mindset work. And then it's like, oh man, that's the thing that I was missing. But most people don't realize they're missing it until they're walking through the fire and they think to themselves, I don't know if I can do this. And that's when we swoop in and come in with this incredible support. Whereas if I went to everybody and said, hey man, yeah, come sign up for my program, we'll give you all this mindset support, like 90% of people are like, dude, mindset's not the problem. So
it's fascinating. I wonder why people don't realize it just in day-to-day life. It just feels like a huge blind spot in the education system that people don't realize. As consumers, they don't realize they need mindset.
It drives me crazy. Because you see people live the same year over and over and over again. You see people have the same bad relationship over and over and over again. And it's the rare person that realizes that they're the problem. Like eventually you have to come to the conclusion that you're the problem. Okay. Like, I mean, if you've had 20 relationships and every relationship, every girlfriend you've ever had screamed at you and stormed out the door, eventually you got to say, hey, maybe it's me, So I think it's tough for people to have that realization, because it's hard, it's hard to take responsibility for your own stuff. One of the things I say to my clients is that until you take responsibility for your own life, you are useless, and I'm not saying that no one has ever victimized you, because people do awful things to other people. And everybody has had situations where a parent or a friend or a mentor or someone let them down in this colossal way. And you're filled with hurt and resentment and all this other stuff. That's the human condition. We all go through that. But at some point you have to say, look, man, this is my life and no one's going to live it for me. And it's my responsibility to create my own destiny, regardless of who's standing in my way, regardless of who doesn't believe in me, regardless of who cheated on me or beat me up or whatever. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't change. None of that stuff changes the fact that this is my life and I got to live it. So at some point you have to let go of those sweet, comforting, excuses and blame, and just say, look, I got to take responsibility for my life. If I want this, it's my job to make it happen. No one else is going to do it for me. Not the government, not my parents, not my family, nobody. I have to do it.
So it's not like you went to an Ivy League school and then went to like be shot off right away. I mean, the first 10 years of your career weren't taken off. So how did you kind of do that for yourself? Was there a series of moments? Did you get coaching to be able to realize that the results you were creating weren't what you wanted, and then to really do the work, think bigger?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I, my background was in acting. And I think that being an actor and doing it at a high level, right? I mean, I mean, I didn't have like a lot of success in my career, but like as far as the training I was having and all that stuff, it was at a very high level. Like a lot of the people that I worked with and grew up with are really pretty famous right now.
Really?
So just being an actor, you just become very aware of your own psychology and the impact of your beliefs and your emotional triggers and sort of like where those buttons are. You know, if you have to cry in a scene, you have to know what is that trigger for you that you can think about that's going to produce that response in you, right? So just as an actor, you know, you're aware of emotionally what's going on with you and psychologically. And I was a bartender from age 21 to age 31. And you know, it's funny because the entire time I was bartending, I was doing whatever mindset work I knew how to do at that time. Like I would do, you know, affirmations or gratitude or affirmative prayer or whatever. You know, I had different things I was doing back then. But here's the thing, man. I would say to myself, you know, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm successful. I'm successful. But, and anybody can do that. Most people won't even do that, right? But anybody can
Right.
set goals and do affirmations, right? But I think what really gets people is that it's not enough to just do those affirmations. It's not enough to just do that work. You can't tell yourself, thank you, thank you, thank you, that I'm a multimillionaire for 15 minutes out of the day, and then spend the other 23 hours and 45 minutes living in a way that completely contradicts that. And that's what I was doing. You know, I started my online business. I was making an extra couple $100 a week, which was kind of cool, an extra
What
maybe
year was
600.
this around?
This was around 2010, I think.
2010. You're at this point, you're like 30, early 30.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was right after I turned 30 because I turned 30 and I was like, oh my God, I got to do something with my life, right? My 30th birthday, I was sitting in the lobby bar of the Palazzo Hotel with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, just crying into my drink like a fool
Really?
because my life sucked so much and I thought I was going to be so much more successful by the time I was 30, and I was like, I got to do something about this. So I did some research into doing an online business, and all I wanted to do at that point was get out from behind the bar. I was like, I can't pour another
Right.
drink. Like I just can't. You know, I
Must
still
have
want to
been
do
brutal
acting. I still
watching.
want to, you know,
That must have
what?
been brutal. You know, you're going to elite acting, like you have the big aspiration, and see your peers, some of the people become some famous actors, actresses. That must have been wow.
It was very, 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 very tough because they were more talented than me in some things, but they weren't more talented than me in everything. And they would even say that, like, you know, I might not have been the best singer or dancer, but when it came to just like straight acting, I was really great at that part. Um, but yes, it was very tough. And that's part of why, like when I turned 30, I was like, something has to give here. I'm not going to be a 40-year-old bartender, waiter, you know, trying to make it work. And in the beginning, Michael, I just wanted to make an extra $100 a day. I was like, if I could figure out how to make $100 a day, dude, I wouldn't have to bartend anymore. And that's like $3,000 a month. What would I even do with that much money if I didn't have to work anymore? That was like my thing. And so I just kind of just started trying different stuff online, man. I started trying, you know, affiliate marketing or like selling ebooks or this or that or the other thing. But going back to what I was talking about before, I kind of had the wheels turning, right? Where I was making an extra $100, $200 a week, right? Not nearly enough where I could actually quit my job. And one day I thought to myself, you know what, man, what am I doing here? I'm sitting here every day saying, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. Thank you that I'm so successful. Thank you that I'm so successful. What am I doing? I'm going to my bartending job every day. And if I were really a millionaire, would I still be bartending? No. So what would happen if I actually put my money where my mouth was and jumped off the cliff and quit my bartending job, even though I'm not making enough money online to support myself? And somehow intuitively, I just knew that that's what I needed to do. And so I took that risk and I quit my job and I figured, what the hell, man? If it goes south, I could borrow money somehow, some way, stay alive, and then get another bartending job. But if it goes right, this could change the rest of my life. And I remember on my last day, I don't think I've talked about this before. My last day, I walk out of the bar really happy and excited and elated. And I get in my car and I turn on the radio, and just randomly that song Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder was playing. And there's this amazing part where he goes, we can't lose if God's on our side. I find strength there in the tears we've cried, or something like that. And when I turned it on, it was right at that part. And I remember just like sitting in my car, like crying and like sobbing with joy that I'd finally gotten out from behind the bar.
Wow.
And I felt alive for the first time in my life, because whatever was going to happen to me was my doing. It was my destiny at that point. When I was a bartender, I realized I was just very aware that I could get fired at any minute. I didn't think I was going to get fired, but like a lot of people around me got fired, and for apparently no reason. So it was just like my fate, my future is in someone else's hands. My manager has a bad day, he fires me, it's over. For the first time, if I was going to succeed or if I was going to fail, it was on me. And I felt that in a really powerful way. So I went to bed that night, ecstatic, excited, filled with enthusiasm, woke up the next morning in absolute mortal terror of just like, what have I done? But what was crazy was that fear and adrenaline. I've never worked harder in my life. I've never been more focused in my life. 6 a.m. I'm at Starbucks because I didn't even have good internet where I live. I'm at Starbucks with my laptop, like furiously trying to do stuff to build this business. And, man, and it worked. And then that, like, long story short, that first year I made $250,000, which was, I don't think I had ever made more than 20 grand, maybe 22 grand a year as a bartender in 10 years. In my first year online, it was, I did $250,000. Wow. And, but my point is that it's not enough to think positive. It's not enough to do the gratitude and do the affirmations, because at some point you're going to be faced with a situation where you have to take that leap of faith. And if you don't take it, it's like the universe, God, whatever, says, oh, Michael was doing all those affirmations, but he didn't really mean it. Because if he really meant it, he would have jumped.
Yeah. So, and you've had to do this over and over. I remember when we were working together, you were at $1 million, 1.5 million, and you were saying we're going to do $10 million next year. You said it very confidently. Like, I was like, okay. I mean,
acting.
Normally, you're at 1.5. You're like, okay, let me go to 2 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And then now you're talking about going to 50 million and then over 100 million inside the company. What leaps of faith are you looking at for yourself that to get to that level, you have to think differently? How are you thinking about that right now?
Yeah. So it's like, for example, one of the, we started out in the conversation, I think I mentioned something about roadblocks that you have to, dissolve, right? So one of our roadblocks in our business is, has always been lead flow. So we advertise on Facebook, and our audience is a little different. We work with coaches, consultants, experts, authors, thought leaders, and the number of those people is not infinite. It's not like if I worked with, single women who want to find the love of their life. There's hundreds of millions of those. But the entire coaching industry or consulting industry is probably 4 or 5 million people, right now. Yeah. And so based on that, your audience size is only so big. You can only reach so many people with your advertising, and therefore you can only get so many leads. So we figured out a way to overcome that roadblock where now we can get probably 8 to 10 times as many leads as we could before. And I'm really excited about that, but I'm going to have to spend $400,000 a month on ads to scale it to the level that I want. If we're doing $50 million a year, I would anticipate that I'll probably be spending $1 million a month on advertising. Wow. So that is what I'm talking about. Like, that's what it takes. It's that same fear. I mean, when I launched my first Facebook ads campaign, $20 a day on Facebook, that was a lot of money to me back then. You know what I mean? But you have to take the risk. You have to take the leap of faith. That is why not very many people are cut out to own their own business. It's not because they're not smart. It's because they cannot deal with risk. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're thinking about the leap of faith, is it often financial for people? What are the different types of leaps? So it's like, okay, you need to make an investment, or you need to put
it's anything in your life. You're in a relationship, right? That is absolutely awful and you're not happy, but you stay.
Right.
And you can sit there and do all the affirmations and gratitude and whatever that you want. Thank you for my amazing relationship. But if that relationship isn't changing and it's not right, you have to make a leap of faith and trust that, okay, if I get out of this relationship, I will end up with someone better. Right. I mean, this isn't just something that happens in business. It happens in everything that we do. You try out for the football team, you try out for the basketball team, you've got that thing you've always wanted to do and you're dreaming of it and you're thinking about it, but you've got to pull the trigger and go for it. And that's what for me, that was quitting my job. But it's not, that I'm not telling everyone out there to go quit their job, because everyone's destiny and life and priorities and goals are different. But there is something in your life right now that you are terrified of doing. And that is the thing usually that you most need to do. And until you step up and do that thing, things aren't going to change.
Yeah. You mentioned even raising your price. That's the example that doesn't cost a lot of money, but to go to someone and to say, hey, my program is $10,000 when you're not used to charging that much. That's really hard. It requires a leap of, sounds so counterintuitive that requires a leap of faith.
But when I made that shift, I had to, and looking back, I probably didn't need to do it this way, right? But I had like all my low ticket stuff was still going, still selling. And I decided, you know what, man, the low ticket thing is fine, but I want to really get people results. I want to just focus totally on premium price stuff. So I shut off all my low ticket stuff before I had any idea how to do the high ticket stuff.
Wow.
So there was a good, like, and this would have been, I think, like mid 2013, I think. There was like a good 3 months there where I made almost nothing because I shut off everything I was selling before. And I took that leap of faith to move into the higher ticket thing. I had no idea how to do it. I had to figure out how to do it. And then once I figured it out, like it just kicked in, and that was amazing. But yeah, man, there was a good 3 months there where I was like, like really running up credit cards and, like my American Express, calling them going like, hey, can you raise my limit a little bit? Cause but that's what it takes. And that's what people are so, afraid to do. But you have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, we have that in our business. We have our learning ritual course and our mental model course and our seminal course. And so when you said that, I was like, man, what would it be like to shut down lower ticket courses when those are bringing in money and go to this other program? That takes a lot of cojones.
Yeah, it takes guts, but it's well rewarded. And the thing is too, I just want to be clear. I'm not telling everybody to just like leap before they look, do what's called inversion thinking, right? So take a second and ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? So most of the time when we're thinking about making a big move, maybe we see the upside, we see how it could benefit us, but the idea of doing it just terrifies us. It's like an immediate reaction. Like if I was like, Michael, raise your price to $10,000. You've never done that before. Your instant reaction is to be like, oh God, I don't know if I can do that. Okay. Most of us leave it there and we just sit in that fear and we allow that fear to paralyze us. But what I suggest you do is actually think it through. What is the worst case scenario? You say, hey, that'll be $10,000, please. And someone says no. Okay. That's not that bad. Right. Most of the time, the worst case scenario is really not that bad if you think it through. And then when you think it through, you can say to yourself, okay, well, if the worst case scenario does happen, how can I overcome it? And you come up with a backup plan. And then you find a lot of these situations in life where you realize the upside is huge and the downside isn't that big. Like, so again, with quitting bartending, right? The upside was potentially massive because I just had this feeling that I could build a really great business if I did. But the downside was, okay, if the worst case scenario happens and I'm an idiot and I can't do any of the stuff I think I can do, how would I survive? Well, I could borrow money from, my credit cards. I could borrow money from my family or whatever, stay afloat, go get another bartending job, and I'll be all right. So you think about it, you're like, oh, that actually wouldn't be that bad, but this is potentially awesome. And this isn't really that bad. So let's go for it.
I'm going to loop us back to earlier in the conversation. We took a detour from something.
Sure.
And we went really deep into it. But so I asked the question of, there's a lot of other very smart, driven internet marketers and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing we talked about was that you really focus on the customer first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about really significance or money, customer first. What are the other things? Because there's a lot of very smart internet marketers doing things and, to provide good programs. Not, of course, there's smart internet marketers who have bad programs.
Yeah.
What do you think sets you apart as well?
You're kind of asking me to brag. So there's so many ways this can go wrong. I mean, I see, Napoleon Hill in the if I remember correctly, like in the original mail order course that eventually became like Think and Grow Rich or something like that. It was like reasons businesses fail. And there was like 100 of them. Like, I mean, like the list of businesses was crazy. There's so many ways you can screw this up, man. I mean, some people are not good with the details, and some people are not good at running a team. Some people aren't good at hiring people. Some people aren't good at inspiring people and leading people. Some people are just touchy. Some people allow the fear to paralyze them. Like, you know, you as you scale your business, there's so many skills that go beyond what you're familiar with. Going back to the chiropractor, like I mentioned before, that guy knows how to rent an office, he knows how to crack backs and that kind of thing. He doesn't know anything about Facebook ads, and then if he is going to build an online program, he doesn't know anything about like WordPress. He doesn't know anything about like hiring a graphic designer. He doesn't know anything about that stuff. And he can get scared. He can get overwhelmed. He can get pulled off the path to the left or to the right. He can just make bad business decisions. We see that a lot with people where, let's say you spent $100 on Facebook ads and you talked to 2-3 people and you enrolled somebody at $5,000. And you just spent $100 to make $5,000. I've literally had people in that exact situation go, oh, well, no, I don't want to spend any more money on Facebook ads because I want to take care of this one person first. And it's like, you just gave Mark Zuckerberg $100 and he gave you back $5,000. Wouldn't you want to do that again and again and again and again and serve more people and grow? So it's like that fear, I think, is really what causes people to make terrible decisions. And then there's just certain things in your personality that you have to compensate for. I'm not a detailed person, right? I can kind of adapt and get into the details if I really have to, but it's not like my natural thing. I'm like a big picture guy. So I got to surround myself with people that are going to mind the details. And if I don't, I'm going to pay the price. So you just have to be hyper aware of what you're good at and what you're bad at, and understand that if there's a bunch of stuff that you're bad at, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but you got to find a way to make up for those shortcomings. Someone else in your company has to be the one that's doing that thing. And I think that it's just hard. It's just hard.
This is me bragging a little bit for you because looking from the outside in, I heard another online course creator say that a pattern that people fall into is they have their niche. Let's say they fix people's trees.
Mm-hmm.
So at first they're teaching people about fixing trees, but in order to be successful at that, they have to become really good at marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So the next niche they go into is marketing because they're spending 2 years doing funnels.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all the money. And the next thing they go into is health, basically, because it's all about like, how can I live a better life? And now that I have the money. So the niches up, Peter Free.
No, I'm just staying really still.
Wow. That was actually,
as I'm listening to you, I'm just kind of like, no, I'm still here.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Those acting skills coming back.
Yes.
But so the business follows them. And I sense that within myself, like my interests are changing. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to focus on things that reflect that. And you've been very focused on the past 7 years since you started the high ticket program, focusing the same customers,
Mm-hmm.
same problem. And you have different products, but they all are kind of different levels of solving
Mm-hmm.
the problem. You have your clients on demand, then there's Lions Pride,
Mm-hmm.
Mastermind Alliance, all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you, like part of me, this is my mindset thing, would be afraid of, well, what if my interests evolve or there'd be this other thing, there's a huge opportunity over there. Let me jump onto that.
Yeah.
You've been very focused.
That's a great, so I guess one of the people that first got me into high ticket, or that because people are always doing high ticket, but the first person I ever heard say you can sell a coaching program for $10,000 was somebody that is a brilliant marketer, just brilliant. But over the years, I've watched him jump from one business model to the next, where he was doing, like, he wanted to do one-on-one coaching and mentoring, and his thing was like, you could sign up with him as a one-on-one mentoring client, and you would get to email him, and you would get to do I think it was like a 20-minute Skype call with him every other week, and you can ask him whatever you wanted, and that was like a few $1,000s a month or something like that. So he built that up to the point where he had like 50 people in there, right? And so he's making $400,000 or $500,000 a month with that, or something like that. and or no, probably about 250, 300,000 a month. And he ran it for 2, 3 months and then got bored and just shut it down. It was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and shut it down and got rid of all his clients. And then he had to look for a new business model. You know what I mean? So I saw this guy do this and other people do this over and over and over and over again, where it's like they were like a dog chasing an ambulance. Like you wouldn't know what to do with it if you actually caught it. Right, well, they would catch it and have this business that was thriving and successful, and then they would get bored or move on to another idea or whatever and just drop it. And that always just was like, what? If you have something that's working, well, why wouldn't you continue to work that thing? And then, look, it's one thing if you're just absolutely miserable doing what you're doing, then of course you shouldn't keep doing it. But it was more than that. It was this sort of like entrepreneurial ADD, and I watched that and I saw that and I was like, that's not going to happen to me. I don't want to be such a big stick in the mud that I'm not innovating and I'm not looking for ways to do things better and looking for ways to build a better mousetrap. But I'm not going to be one of those people that just jumps from one business to the next, to the next, to the next, because I can't sit still, especially because I love what I'm doing, Michael. Like I really love what I'm doing. I mean, I was, we got a playground out there behind the house and I'm sitting there pushing my son on the swing, and I looked at my wife and I was like, this is the best time of my life. I was like, I don't look back to like, oh, in high school when I caught the pass that won the big game. That was like my I was like, right now, this moment is the best time of my life. I am so freaking happy right now. And yeah, there's stuff we want to do. You maybe want to get in better shape, or maybe you want to, scale your business to $100 million or whatever. But like right now, I am so happy doing what I'm doing. And that also keeps you on the path because you're like, I just love this. Like,
loving it. And maybe it's personality types. Just because for me, I have the personality type where I'm prone to the shiny object, or some people they see the shiny object and it's not shiny to them. It just feels like extra work. Is that you, or did you have to discipline yourself?
I did. Yeah. And honestly, my team was a big part of it. Especially in the first few years of the business, I would come to my team with like some radical, crazy idea of something that I wanted to do. And they would say, okay, look, well, let's say I wanted to launch a whole new thing, right? Which means building a whole new funnel, a whole new ad campaign, hiring people to staff it, doing all this stuff, right? And we would run the numbers and say, look, okay, if this works, here's the potential payoff financially. Here's the investment of time and energy. Okay. Right. So now we figured that out. Then we would say, okay, look, is there another way we can generate that same amount of revenue with a hell of a lot less work? And there always was. It was always like, if let's say our sales team is enrolling people at a rate of 25%, if we just got them to 26%, it would make all the money that other big crazy project would make. So what's a better use of our time? Spending some time mentoring our sales guys to boost their conversions by 1%, which is easy, or launching a whole new thing. And we just always would just come back to that we have this existing business that's thriving. And if we're willing to put in the work and get our hands dirty and just go deep into the processes and procedures and trying to improve every little thing. And that's really what scaling is about. There's certain things you can do that is going to make a quantum leap forward in your business. We just discovered some of those things now, but most of it is just making tiny little improvements at each thing that just get better and better and better and better, but they add up to something huge. It's like a chess game where, like, if you watch chess players who are playing at the highest level, it's not like some guy screws up and loses his queen. Like, that just doesn't happen at that level, Right, yeah. It's making those tiny little positional advantages again and again and again. And by the end of the game, they coalesce into something huge that's decisive. And I just was always very aware of that. And I asked my team, guys, if you see me like going off on some crazy ass tangent or whatever, just bring me back to like the core of what we're doing.
I heard, I remember when I was at NYU, we had the founder of Princeton Review speak.
Oh yeah. I used to work for Princeton Review when I was in high school.
What's that?
I worked for Princeton Review,
really?
like right when I got out of high school. Yeah.
That's funny. And he was basically saying, they're taking the company public. He needed he had 2 people who he told were no people to him that did say no to his ideas. And he was like, that wasn't enough. I needed more like 7 or 8 people. So, because if you're an entrepreneur, you can be really stubborn. Emotionally, you're like, they said no, let me plow through it. So you maybe intellectually understand it, but emotionally, you're just in love with this idea. how did you discipline? So even if people are saying it really has to be you, how did you discipline that emotional part of your side?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any ego invested in this. And it's a weird thing to say because I know it's not true. I'm sure that I do. But if someone comes to me with a better way to do things, I'm never going to shoot that down just because this is the way we've always done it. Or I built this sales funnel and this is how we do our sales funnels. And so that's the way we're going to do it until the end of time. I'm just not built that way. If you can show me a way to build a better mousetrap, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to teach my clients how to do it. And then they're going to make more money and everybody wins. So I'm very open to people's feedback. And if you read Principles by Ray Dalio, which is like one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the recurring theme through that whole book is that you're going to be wrong most of the time and your ideas are going to suck most of the time. And if you're running a business, you should always be aware of that. Not that you shouldn't have faith if you really feel like something is the right move. Of course you should. And you got to take those leaps of faith. Like I said, you should always be open to the fact that you are wrong. And many of those ideas are just bad ideas. It looks good, but you take a second, you think about it, you do the math, you do the numbers, and you realize this is like the longest possible path to get to where I want to go. That's another obsession that I have is I'm always obsessed with finding the fastest, most efficient way to get to where I want to go. I'm very clear on what our outcome is. And it's like, how can I get there in as few steps as possible? And that is like a meta program that's just always running in the back of my mind. How can I do this with a minimal expenditure of energy? I'm not one of those people that believes in like the whole rise and grind thing. If I believed in the rise and grind thing, I would still be doing live webinars instead of automating my webinars, which makes us more money and saves me hundreds of hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I've really seen that in you. And it sounds obvious. Why wouldn't everyone want to do the most efficient thing? And one thing lost my train of thought, is just constantly going back to simplicity. I noticed, I think sometimes the mindset makes it more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
That we feel, I was doing a coaching call right before this, and I was like, his path to getting where he wanted was so convoluted, but it was just because he was afraid of the direct path. There was something he was afraid of.
Yeah.
Resistant to. So
I know. And I think that's critical. And I'm glad you're asking me about this stuff because this is stuff that I don't really think about. It's just like kind of the way that I operate, but I am obsessed with simplicity. How can we do this in as few steps as possible? And I really think, Michael, like I'm just lazy, dude. Like, like so many of the innovations that became clients on demand was just laziness. Like people were like, when I was first starting out, people were like, start a blog, start a YouTube channel, post 4 videos a day and make tons of videos. And then eventually you'll build an audience and a following. And then eventually those people will hire you and And in 2 years, you could be making, $5,000 a month. I was like, I don't want to do any of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, and so anytime I had that reaction of like, that sounds like really not fun, I would think to myself, well, there must be a better way to do this. There must be a more efficient way to do this. And 9 times out of 10, I would find it. But I feel like if I was like, I always look at guys like Jocko Willink, you know what I mean? Like Jocko Willink is all about hard work,
David Goggins.
Or David Goggins, right? Like if I was David Goggins, I wouldn't have had any of these innovations because I would have just said, yeah, man, I'm going to make those. They're telling me to do 4 YouTube videos a day. I'm going to do 20 YouTube videos a day. I'm going to spend 8 hours a day making YouTube videos and grind it out. Well, it's like, it's no good climbing the ladder if the ladder is leaning against the wrong tree. It's no good climbing the ladder if there's an elevator right around the corner that you can take instead, So in a way, I feel like I've always been very envious of those people that have that like insane work ethic and discipline where they can do stuff that they genuinely do not enjoy over and over and over and over and over again to get what they want. To me, I've always been like, no, if I don't enjoy this, there's a reason why. If I don't enjoy this, it's because this is inefficient and stupid. So let me find a better way to do it. And that's the way that I've kind of come up with any little innovation that I've ever come up with in the course of running this company to make things more efficient. And that's how I think we were able to scale so fast,
Yeah. Wow. I'm processing it because it's like, I get it, but then simplicity is one of those things that I get intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I'm between 2 choices, hard to let go of one for me. And actually, just having this conversation with my friend Cal Newport, we went to
Yeah.
high school together. We started our first business together, and we were talking about how beginning, like I would have all these ideas, and he was naturally resistant to them.
Yeah.
And now look at him; he's just focused. He's been very focused on a few things.
Yeah.
Like after seeing it pay off of decades, I could see, okay, wow, this approach is really powerful, but it's also hard to get the leverage on myself or the clarity to see it. And like for example, let's say you really enjoy doing things. There's I've heard that entrepreneurs sometimes the part of the company that grows the slowest is the part that they're the best at and they enjoy doing because they can hire other people and other that. How do you think about simplicity when stuff that you want to do?
I just realized that everything that I just realized that you can be a genius at something, but you're not the only genius at something. And there may be things that you never give up, but that list should be really, 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 really short. If Steve Jobs thought that way, like imagine if Steve Jobs was like, no, only I can build a computer. He would have been still working out of his garage. Like, he wouldn't have Apple, so like you have to humble yourself. And I think that's an ego thing. I really do. Where, for a long time, I said to myself, nobody can coach our clients on how to do a great webinar, but me. I'm the webinar guy. That's my thing. But that's not true. I got coaches now that do a better job than me coaching our clients on their webinars, and you just realize that if you want your company to grow, you have to get the hell out of the way. A pretty useful model I came across one time. I think it's been all over the place. I don't know who to give credit to, but it basically looks at your business as this like triangle with like 4 levels, right? And at the bottom level, you're the operator. So like it's a pool cleaning business. You're the guy out there. You're the guy cleaning pools. Then you become the manager, where now you go and hire a couple more pool cleaning guys. Now you're managing those people, right? Then you become the CEO, where you hire some more managers and you have 5 or 6 pool cleaning teams and about 15, 20 people working for you. And you're managing those guys cleaning the pool. You're not cleaning the pool anymore. You're managing you're managing the managers. And then at the highest level, which is like the president of the company, you're looking at the entire company itself as a product that can be bought or sold or traded.
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
And moving through those levels of abstraction where you are less and less connected to the day-to-day tasks of the business. You're not squeezing the lemons. You know what I'm saying? Is weird and very hard for a lot of people. And it entails a whole new level, like I said before, of risk and a whole new level of discomfort and a whole new level of self-doubt. And everybody's got that number, man, where, you're going to make that money and you're going to freak out because it's just too much money. Everybody has that number. I don't know where mine is, but I haven't hit it yet, but I've seen it happen to a lot of other people. And I think the reason I haven't hit it yet is because, when I was in my 20s, I was thinking I was going to be like an Avenger, a movie star or something like that. So that's what I'm kind of comparing my life to, like that's where the bar is set, is like Brad Pitt's life. So as long as my life is somewhere under not quite that cool, I'm comfortable. But for a lot of people, that barometer is set a lot lower, man, like $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, first person in your family to make a 6-figure income. That resistance is real. And you worry what the people around you are going to say. You worry about what your relatives are going to say. You worry what's going to happen when people ask, are people going to ask me to borrow money now? That fear can come out of nowhere. And it's like, you have to be able to deal with it.
Right. So on the one hand, it's the leap of faith, the unknown. Then on the other hand, there's the barometer that's coming off of your thermostat of what you have set for. And when you go beyond that, it starts feeling comfortable.
The fear can come out of nowhere. That self-doubt, that self-sabotage can come out of nowhere. Like in a, like I don't believe in like a literal devil, okay? But like if there is a devil, it's that like, I can't, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not whatever. And it's like, it can come at you from all kinds of different directions. What would my I don't even know. Just, I mean, like so many different kinds of unworthiness that we see, and we see it come up with our clients where they don't feel worthy of the success. And we have to get them to step into that higher identity where they understand, dude, you are making the world a better place, one client at a time. And so of course you deserve all the success in the world. You just got to believe it,
Or you're making the success something it's not going to be, that you get to XYZ number, whatever it is, a million or 10 million or this number of employees is to be held to run the company. It's not worth it. Or I've seen that as well.
Yeah, no, and I see that's a great one. That's a great one too, is this belief that you can't see. I always tell my clients, you can have it just the way you want it. And I really and truly believe that you can have it just the way you want it. You want to set up your company a certain way, you can do it that way. You want to set up a company where, my old boss, okay, so my old boss, Rick Caruso, is I think the second richest real estate developer in Southern California. He owned the restaurant that I was bartending at for like years and years. He takes all of August off.
Wow.
Just, guy's worth I think $4 billion. Just August, I'm out. I'm on my yacht. Forget it. That's a choice that he has made, and he's found a way to make it work. So if you're willing to solve problems, you can set it up just the way that you want it. But yeah, that's a big one, Michael, where people go, it's that fear of success. Well, what are people going to say about me? Or someone wrote a nasty comment on one of my Facebook ads, or, somebody wrote an article about me that was mean, or someone, did this or someone did that. Like, those things are going to happen, and you have to deal with it, because if you're going to let that limit you, then that's your limit. That's as far as you're going to go. So it's a constant, the work on that stuff is constant and never ending. And it has to be a part of your daily routine.
That's one thing you've talked about, and you've always been consistent, as I know you.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the?
Yeah, of course. Sure. Yeah. So I believe that when you focus totally on victory, God basically forces you to succeed. If you countenance no other possibility and you keep your eyes set directly on the prize, it's like and you take action in accordance with that. Just like we were talking about before. If there's a leap of faith, you take the leap of faith. If there's something you got to do, you freaking do it. If you have to have a difficult conversation, you have it. You do the things, you act in accordance with that vision of who you are and who you want to be. If you do that, success becomes essentially inevitable. And so my daily routine is, and this is the secret, man. And if I had 5 minutes, like let's say I was going to die in 5 minutes, I had 5 minutes to teach my kids something, this is what it would be.
Wow.
The secret is be grateful in advance for the things that you want. So if you have a goal, it's one thing to set that goal, and that's powerful, right? But what's 10 times more powerful is to allow yourself to mentally imagine yourself having that thing right now and being thankful for it in advance. And that is what I do every single day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this beautiful house. And I don't have a house. I'm living in a crappy apartment, okay? But I'm sitting there every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you for my beautiful house. And I can see it in my mind, and I'm not seeing it as some distant, faraway goal. I'm there in the house right now. I'm walking through it, feeling the joy, feeling the gratitude, feeling all this stuff. That's the secret, okay? Everything I've ever gotten and everything I've ever done, I've done that first. You're grateful in advance for what you want, and it just works. And I don't know why. I think it's because you're kind of playing a trick on your subconscious, where your subconscious, if you're feeling the gratitude, your subconscious is like, I already have this. And then you open your eyes and you don't have it. And your subconscious is like, wait, I got to resolve this immediately. I have to bring this into your life. So I've done this with every awesome car I've ever bought, in every house I've ever lived in, my team members. Thank you, thank you, thank you for my amazing social media director. Okay. I don't know what this person's going to look like or whatever, but it's always there. And then once you do that, you have to act in accordance with that thing. Like, what would you do if you already were that person? What would you do if you already had that thing? Would you quit your job? Would you get out of that relationship? What would you do? And you have to do it. This house I'm living in now, it wasn't the house that we wanted to buy. So we were living in Laguna Beach, and this house is in Lake Arrowhead in California. It's about an hour and a half east of Los Angeles at about 6,000 feet. It's a beautiful forest. And my wife and I have been coming up here for a really long time. Staying at the hotel, staying here, but we loved it up here. And we'd always kind of fantasize about what it would be like if we had a house up here. And so what I want to tell you is that when you do that process, not only do you get what you want, but 9 times out of 10, you get something even better than you could possibly imagine. So I believe that God's will for our life is just beyond our wildest imagination. So we had a house all picked out. I was super excited about it. It was like 4,500 square feet. would have been perfect, to have me there. It's like 4 bedrooms, right? So it would have been great to have me, my kids, maybe my brother and my dad and my family for Christmas, would have been cool to come up and have a white Christmas in the snow and everything. Our realtor takes us to a 19,000 square foot house. That's $1 million more than what we wanted to spend. And we walk into the house and I just get that feeling. This is the house. And it's like this little, like warm, kind of happy, kind of scared, kind of freaked out, kind of adrenaline-ish kind of a feeling. And Sarah looks at me and she goes, oh, fuck. Like I know that look. And I'm like, dude, we have to try to get this house. Because this house, it's like, it went from, okay, we could come up here with like my, couple family members at Christmas to like, we can literally host 20 people here like we did at Thanksgiving, and everyone has a bedroom and all the bedrooms at Stonefire. There's like 9 bedrooms. Like we can really do some cool stuff here. And I just knew intuitively that this was the house. There's more than I wanted to spend. It was a lot of other things, but I was like, if I don't act on this, I'm basically saying that all those affirmations that I did, I didn't really mean it. This is the house. And so we got it and it worked out great. And now we're here. That has happened with this house, with every car, with every goal that you set for yourself. It's a leap, but you make it and it turns out better than what you want. The car that I got was better than the one that I went there to get. The house that I got is better than the one that I went here to get. And you're just so richly rewarded for that kind of faith that it's magical. I mean, it's like you're Neo and you're hacking into the Matrix and you're just making things happen. It's a crazy thing.
Yeah, it truly is. There's so many different fascinating ways that the mind works. And I was reading a study about how athletes, if you doing the practice, but then if you actually visualizing yourself practicing and shooting, that actually, like your mind actually encodes that and you become your skill level increases. So it really is it's always like hokey on the one hand that like you create things in your mind and it happens and people make fun of the secret. But it is true. Your mind is incredibly powerful. You have more power than you can imagine. But if you act in accordance with it and take these massive actions with it. So for you on a daily level, what does that look like? It's like 20-minute shower. Then afterwards you get out and journal. Okay, what would I do if I already had that thing?
Yeah, I do it in the shower. So why the shower, right? It's the only place that in my house that I'm not going to get bothered, right? Like I hear my kids out in the hallway right now. I'm sitting, and that's why I paused for a second. Cause I was like, are they going to come bang on my door? It's like, even in my office, I'm not safe. Okay. The shower is the one place where no one's going to bother me. I can go in there and, like the water's falling and it's relaxing anyway. And I just sit there and I start out by being grateful for what I have now. That's where you start, because you can always find something in your life to be thankful for. And in the beginning, when you're thanking God for something you don't have, it's going to feel kind of weird. So to sort of bridge that gap, you start with what you really are thankful for. Thank you for the amazing pancakes I had this morning. Oh man, those were so good. It can be something stupid. Yeah. Then you begin to incorporate the stuff that you want, and you know what you want, and you're thankful for it in advance. And then as you're being thankful for it, you should visualize it. You should watch a mental movie of something that would happen if you really had that thing. Maybe you're calling your dad and going, Dad, I just, had my first $20,000 month in my business. Or you would tell your wife, or whatever. You would take a trip to Bora Bora or Tahiti, and you think about that and you visualize it and you savor it like it's happening right now. And you let yourself feel all the joy and wonder and gratitude that you would feel if it were happening now. And then as you do that, you reach a point where you don't want it anymore, because you've convinced yourself that you already have it. You understand? And you kind of reach this place of I call it divine indifference, where you kind of don't care anymore, And what that does, Michael, is not only does it bring those things into your life, but remember how we talked about before that sometimes you can have amazing success and it freaks you out? This is a great safeguard against that. Because by the time I drove my Bentley, I had already driven it in my mind 100 times. So when I sat down in it, I was like, oh man, this is the car. This is my car. And I had to get it, and it's like, that's how I think about it now. There's a new Bentley. It's in my garage right now. I don't think about it. It's just my car. I don't care. If my son took that car and my son took my old Bentley, right? My kid took a rock and drew on it. He decided to draw on the side of my car, scratch the hell out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, but I came out and I saw it and I was like, what the hell is that? And Sarah was like, oh, Russell was drawing on your car with a rock. I was like, oh, okay. But you don't care because it's just a car. It's a car that you brought into your life through the power of your thought and your action. And when you understand that you have the power to do that, you don't really give a shit about any of the stuff. You know, it's like once you have the recipe for gold, you don't have to hoard piles of it because you can make more whenever you want.
It's interesting because, you know, I think with traditional goal setting, you focus and read the goal out loud every day. It can create a feeling of scarcity. It's kind of like the neediness. I call it the neediness paradox. That sometimes, like, let's say you really want to build a relationship with someone, or you really want to date with someone. You want it too much, you can almost repel the person because they can feel the neediness.
Yeah.
Where this, as you were talking about it creates gratitude, basic experiencing. It creates a certain non-attachment. It's interesting. It's a subtle shift, but I can see that.
You can, and that's a great example because you can really see this like in the world of dating and relationships, right? So like, even if you're not an entrepreneur, it's like, oh man, like you. So here's the thing. You have to know what you want. You have to be grateful for it in advance. You have to act as if you already have it. And you have to never, ever settle. Never settle for less. When you're in a situation with someone where you've been visualizing like, oh, you know, this amazing person in your life or whatever, and then you're on that date and you're kind of just like, yeah, they're, you know, they're attractive. They're pretty cool. They're smart. You know, I could end up hooking up with this person. And then before you know it, you're hooking up all the time. And then before you know it, you're in a relationship, but that's not really what you wanted. And you're sure this isn't the right. It's like, don't do that. Like if the person's not the right person, you know, then cool. But don't, you know, you just have to not care. It's like, I know that the person that I want is going to come into my life. So I'm not going to settle for anything less. And this is why, you know, you bring up The Secret. The first part of this is the easy part. And that's the part they emphasize in The Secret, right? The first part of just making a vision board or whatever. That's the fun stuff. I mean, anyone can do that. And it feels good when you do it right. But it's this other stuff I'm talking about, like making those tough decisions as if you already have that thing. That's tough. And not settling for anything less than what you actually want. That's even more tough. So that's the part that separates the women from the little girls. That's the part that separates the men from the boys is your ability to do that. It's that bold action. It's, you know, Caesar crossing the Rubicon. It's Alexander the Great going to see the oracle at Delphi to say, hey, I'm thinking about going on this big campaign of conquest. And the oracle says she's busy and she can't see him. So he runs in there and drags her out by her hair and is like, tell me if this is going to work or not. And she goes, my Lord, you are invincible. And then he's like, that's all he needed to hear. And then he goes, you know what I mean? Like there's this kind of element of bold insanity that it's irrational and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that Elon Musk can say, hey, I'm going to start a company. We're going to send rockets into space and we're going to land them back on the earth, even though NASA's never done that once. That's nuts, you know, but he was like, this is what I'm going to do. And he did it. You know what I mean? Like that actually taking the action is the part that just kills people. You know, my favorite poem is The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot. And one of the things he says in that poem is between the whole poem is about like, you're in the afterworld and there's these like horrible, like stuffed, hollow men, like scarecrows that are just empty inside, and they're like rotting inside because they never did the stuff that they wanted to do with their lives. They went with the flow. They said what everybody wanted them to say. They did what everybody wanted them to do, and so they're hollow and they're empty. And towards the end of the poem, he says, between the motion and the act falls the shadow. Between the creation and the conception falls the shadow. And that what that means is that before, like, you have this idea, and the moment you have this idea that's a big idea, the shadow comes crashing down, that shadow of fear, and it can paralyze you and stop you. Between the motion and the act falls the shadow. And it's like, what are you going to do when that happens? Are you going to stay inside your comfort zone, or are you going to step through it? And what's really haunting about this poem, Michael, is the poem is like a very vivid picture of what happens when you don't do it, when you allow the shadow to fall, and that's that. And the last lines of the poem is he says, this is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
I've heard that last line before, but
right
now know in the beginning, it puts it all.
That's what it's right. That's what it's, because I read the poem, I was like, oh, I've heard that, but now I knew what it meant, because what he's saying is that the way the world ends, the way the world falls apart is not because you took some giant bold action. It's because you did nothing when you knew you should have done something. And I think that's the part that people don't, that's the reason why you can watch something like The Secret and people make fun of it, because nobody ever got anywhere, because nobody ever freaking did anything.
So fascinating. The mind works. Like as you were talking, I just had that moment where it's different areas. I could be like, shoot, I am thinking small. Like it's like, but it's weird because it's hidden from you. And I feel like I am setting goals and things like that. And as you're talking, I'm like, it just, came there emotionally. I could feel it. So it's just interesting how the shadow casts. Shadow is a great thing because sometimes it's invisible almost, stopping you. One question I was going to ask you about is related to this. You said the first step is know what you want. That's actually a really hard thing, because there's this idea of mimetic desire, that so many of our desires come from people or the cultures we're around of. So now you've already gotten a lot of the material things that most people could want, and having a 40,000 square foot house instead of a
that would be too big. I was like, what are you gonna do? I'll get lost. I'll try to find the kitchen and I'll starve to death, and they'll find a little skeleton of me because I couldn't find the kitchen. I couldn't get a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Got lost.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that now? Like, how do you think about what really matters? That what's worth putting the time every day and visualizing in your head?
Well, it just becomes about playing the game. And that's the weirdest thing for me, is that once you're making a certain amount of money, like if my company was doing $100 million a year, my lifestyle really wouldn't change all that much. Maybe I could buy a plane or buy a boat or something, but it's like, you can rent those things now. So why would you need to buy one? It's like, who cares, So my lifestyle itself really wouldn't change. So it's not about that though. It's about, it becomes about playing the game at the highest level. Like, we have a business that is changing people's lives every single day. And our clients will be the first one to tell you, my clients tell me all the time, Russ, you saved my life. Russ, you saved my marriage. And we don't have a health coaching program, or we don't have a relationship coaching program. But when we showed
some of those calls, something that I actually, we worked together when I had an agency helping people with content. And then I learned so much from doing that and applied it and got results that I then signed up for another of your high ticket programs. And getting amazing benefit from it. But on the calls, you really hear like
the celebrations are nuts.
Just sharing and crying. Because it's been transformative.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, fine. So that's what we're doing, right? That's the impact that we're making. We're having fun making it. Who am I to say we're going to stop here? Like, who the hell am I to say, well, we're going to get to 15 million a year and then we're going to call it. You know what I mean? It's like I wouldn't be me if I said that. I'm like, look, if we can push to 100 million, let's push to 100 million. And if we get to a point where we're doing 100 million a year and I feel like it's gotten too difficult for us to maintain the quality, or that quality isn't going up and up, then maybe that's the point where I'll say, okay, this is about as big as this thing can get. But we haven't hit that yet. And I'm 41, I'm young, I'm healthy. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and one on the way. So my kids are so small, I'm not going anywhere. We can't. We got 3 now, and 3 boys, and then we have a girl on the way.
Okay, awesome, congratulations.
So, but my point is, like, when you have kids that small, like, you're not going anywhere, dude. Let's be honest.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, all right, look, I might as well just put my head down and work. And if it ever turns into a thing where I get sick of it or I don't enjoy it anymore, then whatever, I'll figure out what to do then. But I'm having the time of my life doing this. This is what we're meant to do. There's a role that only you can fill. There's a mission that only you can fulfill. If you think about Aristotle has this whole idea about like the divine idea of something, or like the idea of something, where basically, like, let's say you'd never seen a perfect triangle. You could still have an idea in your mind of what a perfect triangle looks like. If you never saw a perfect circle, you could have an idea in your mind of what the perfect circle looks like. And when you have an idea of what a perfect circle looks like, you can judge every other circle according to like how close it is to that idea in your head. I think that God has a divine idea of Michael's life, of Russ's life. And when you open yourself up to that and you're grateful for that in advance, you allow more and more of that into your life. And I really feel like nothing is too good to be true. Nothing is too good to last. Nothing is too wonderful to happen. If we open ourselves up to this, it's right there. You know, when I became a dad, it was like, I love these kids so much that I want the best for them of everything. And I feel like that's how God feels about us, but times a billion, where that conception or idea of your life is so far beyond anything you could possibly imagine. And so, like, whether you believe in God or not, and that's just the way that I conceptualize it, you can certainly accept that there's this idea of the best life you could possibly be living. And that's what you ought to pursue. Because if you're not going to pursue that, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, it's really interesting too. You're mentioning, and we can end on this is, uh, there's this really fascinating researcher named Daniel P. Brown. He's at Harvard, and so one of the big things found as also as a therapist is that sometimes people have attachment disorders.
Yeah,
Many people do growing up, and one of the exercises that works best is actually the number one intervention is you go back to these moments where you felt unloved as a child, and you imagine your ideal parents treating you as you wish you could have been treated. And so just creating that idea transforms people. So you do that for 10 minutes, 40 times or something. And like people's attachment styles actually change.
yeah,
So it's when you're talking about God there, whether you believe in God or not, or however you believe in it, by having that idea of some wanting better for you than you can even imagine. Wow, that's amazing.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, that just stepping into the belief that you were meant for more and that you deserve more, and that God and everything in the universe wants you to have more and be more, if you're willing to accept that, is just such a like radical shift for most people. But I think that's the way of success. You know, even if you look at somebody that it doesn't, you know, I don't know what Elon Musk's spiritual beliefs are, right? But at some point in his thinking, he must have gone, yeah, I'm going to, you know, start this space company. It's probably not going to work out, but screw it. I'll give it a shot. And I think I can maybe, you know, well, I'll give it a shot. It's worth doing. You know, just that's insane. You have to have that, like, that belief that transcends the circumstances that you were born in, that you were meant for more and that you deserve more. And yes, there's responsibility that goes along with that. You want to do a good job for people and take care of people and make the world a better place. But you have to accept that, you know, that you have a destiny and you have to do what it takes to get there.
Well, finally, Russ, where can people, they want to learn more about you and your program, or follow you on different channels? Where should they do that?
So the simplest thing they can do is just book a call with our team. The link to do that is clientsondemand.com/talk. And we'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes and you can tell us everything that's going on in your business, where you are stuck, where you want to be. And we'll put our heads together and come up with a really great game plan to get you where you want to be. So that's totally free. It's clientsondemand.com/talk to book that appointment. That's the best way to get started with us. If you want to check out some of our webinars and some of the other trainings that we've done, you can just go to clientsondemand.com and there's a bunch of resources there that you can check out too.
And for people who want to know what Clients on Demand is, just so they can learn whether they should apply for it, whether it's right for them, can you just give a quick overview?
Sure. Yeah. So what we do in our programs is we teach our clients how to attract their ideal clients at the price that they want, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 or more. And we teach a full marketing system that allows people to take someone from clicking on an ad to becoming a client at $5,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 within like 24 hours, even if they've never heard of you. So it's a really, really powerful marketing system. You don't have to have a lot of followers. You don't have to have any followers. And you don't even have to have a website, honestly. You just have to have the skill. So you have to have like expertise. You have to be able to solve a major life or business challenge. And if you can do that, we'll show you the same system that we use to scale our business to $15 million a year. It's the same system. And we'll show you how to do it step by step. And like I said before, with all the hand-holding and coaching and everything else that goes with it, so you can actually get the result.
Beautiful, Russ. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. It's my pleasure. This was great.
Thanks for listening to The Michael Simmons Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes. If you found value in today's episode, we would greatly appreciate a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast player.